My 24th birthday is tomorrow, and it kind of scares me. I decided to think of 24 things that I've learned in my 24 years of life, and just to reflect on them and to share. So I'm just gonna do this very casually. The first one is, I guess, a quote from a series of unfortunate events books. It is, if we wait until we're ready, we'll be waiting for the rest of our lives. And that's how I've felt too. Like, I always am waiting for the perfect moment, and the perfect moment never comes. Then you look back and you've wasted all this time. So sometimes you just have to kind of go for it. Just do it. Number 2 is, it's okay to not be the best. Something that I had a hard time with a lot when I was younger was just like wanting to be like the highest performer in school, especially. And so I would get really stressed about like things like my grades and all of that. And then one day I just decided, like, this isn't worth all this stress. Like, it's okay as long as I'm doing my best, and I should be proud of that. Even if I'm not the best, it's my best. That kind of ties into number 3, which is admit that you don't know something. It's okay to say, I don't know. I feel like I've kind of learned that recently, and it's just kind of empowering in a way. I feel like that sounds weird because then you sound like maybe less knowledgeable, but really you have more self-knowledge, I think, if you're admitting that you don't know rather than pretending to be smarter than you are, to come off a certain way or impress people. Really, it's okay to say you don't know. Number 4 is to ask for help. This includes like everything in life. Like at work, if you're getting overwhelmed, ask to see if someone else can help you. If you're struggling with your mental health, try to find someone who you can talk to about it, like a friend, family member, a counselor, or someone like on a hotline or a chat service. And for me, what feels particularly relevant right now is like job hunting, trying to find a job, place to go for help, my professors, the career center. In most areas, you probably have some sort of resource you can go to for help, and hopefully like a strong support system among like your friends and family too. So don't be afraid to rely on other people. It also like helps your relationships grow stronger with them, and it can relieve a lot of stress on you. It's okay to not be able to figure everything out all alone. Number 5 is to schedule personal time. There's like real hustle culture. I feel like everything's just go, go, go all the time. And I feel like a kind of guilt sometimes for not wanting to do anything. But in reality, that's okay. We shouldn't feel like we have to do something all the time. You know, I feel like if we're happy with what we're doing the things that we need to do to move forward in life, to feel fulfilled. It's okay to have downtime sometimes, or if you're me, a lot of the time. You know, I'm finishing school, and I just enjoy resting sometimes. My work hasn't been too hard this semester, but still, I feel like I'm gearing up to go out into the real world, and it's scaring me. So I just want to take this time kind of to enjoy that moment before it ends. Number 6 is to be nice. And by that, I mean, I think a lot about when I was a kid. I wouldn't consider myself a bully, but in kindergarten especially, I remember not being always the nicest. I don't think I necessarily like instigated bullying, but I definitely remember like hopping on the bandwagon of like bullying trends, or like if there's someone hated in the class. I don't know. It sounds really bad, but looking back on those moments, it makes me really sad because I know sometimes you hear things about yourself that you never forget and you carry it for the rest of your life. And to think that I could have done that or contributed to that in someone else just feels really wrong. And I'm sure like there's not like children in school watching this, or at least they're not going to take this to heart. But I feel like as an adult, you can be conscious of the fact that what you say to someone may stick with them forever. So if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all, type of deal. Number 7 is you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. That is, in other people's lives, in the greater picture of the world too. It's easy to have judgments about people or to get frustrated with people before you kind of understand where they're coming from. And that doesn't always necessarily make it less frustrating, but at least for me, it's like a mental justification, like, okay, I have to remember to have patience with this person or something like that. And I've felt a lot in the reverse too, where people don't always understand where I'm coming from. People have no idea what's going on in my life. It's not like I expect sympathy for like issues I've dealt with, but you can tell some people aren't prompted to remember that they don't know everything about you. Number 8 is to be yourself. Again, looking back at my childhood, there's a lot of times where I really wanted to like do something, express myself in a certain way, dye my hair, that I never got to do and maybe don't feel comfortable doing now just for other reasons. I know that kind of goes against the be yourself thing. I just don't necessarily fully want to go in on doing those things anymore. But as a kid, I really did want to do those things, and I feel like I missed out. I also feel like you shouldn't water down your personality to please other people. There's so many people in the world, like they talk about with dating, like there's somebody for everyone, but it's true. Like you can find your people. Your people are around you. Even if it seems like there's no one like you, you can usually find someone in a large enough pool of people. It can be hard, like if you're in a class of like 20 people and that's all the people you know, like in school, that can be really hard. But in general, if you have a vast crowd of people, sometimes you just have to keep looking for people who understand you, people who will love you, and people who you will love. Number 9 is to self-advocate and not fear confrontation so much. I've had a hard time dealing with confrontation in my life. I hate it. I don't want to make a big stink or cause a fuss. And so I feel like a lot of times I've let people walk all over me or just been unhappy because I've not been willing to say something to protect myself or to bring up any issues that I have with something. You just have to find the right way to confront people, like in a way that's receptive and I guess as positive as you can make it, I guess constructive, so that you can be heard by the other person and hopefully they'll take it to heart. Number 10 is to write things down and take photos. Again, as a kid, I was really insecure. Even into adulthood, I was really insecure about my appearance, and so I hated being in photos. I just hated it. I'm still kind of working on that, I guess. I don't always love pictures. You just forget a lot of things, and then you look back and your life feels almost empty because you have so many gaps in your memory and you don't have pictures or anything to help, jog your memory and to remind you of experiences you had that you're forgetting. I've been kind of a bullet journaler on and off, but recently I was like looking through one of my bullet journals. It was just really cool to like see exactly what I was doing, because I was writing like every day what happened, and I had all these trackers for things that I was doing. But those are things I never would have remembered, and now I can look back and like know the exact dates if it matters. Okay, camera died and it's getting dark in my dark ass house. Story of my life. Okay. What I was saying before is you can also, if you do it on a digital calendar, then you can look back and you still have like kind of your events and stuff. I like to see it in the written form, and I also will save things like concert wristbands or receipts from like special things and tape them in my journal. But still, if you have them on a digital calendar, you can still kind of see what you were up to in the past. Next one is 11, that your body is normal. I think this is something that we all struggle with during puberty especially. But as we get older, even then, like Instagram and all of this stuff makes us look at our own bodies in a different way. It really starts to feel like you're not looking the way you should, when in reality, like so much of this Instagram stuff is fake. And there are a million videos on YouTube unpacking all of this, but it was worth mentioning as one of my lessons. 12 is to be grateful. Even when your life sucks, when your mental health's in the dumpster, there's always something to be grateful for. A roof over your head, food in your stomach, family, friends. I would guess that if you're able to watch this video, you have some things to be grateful for in your life, even if there's a lot of things that suck. Some people do like a daily like gratitude journal where you just write one thing you're grateful for every day. I've never been able to keep up with that, but In rough times, it can definitely kind of help diffuse a little bit of pain depending on the situation. So yeah, keeping like a grateful attitude when you can be beneficial sometimes. Number 13 is to put yourself out there. Earlier I said that it's okay to like stay home and just hang out and not feel like you have to be busy and productive all the time. But on the other hand, you can't fall into a trap of always staying at home, always doing nothing. Otherwise, you're just missing opportunities in the world to make friends, job opportunities, life lessons. So you have to strike a good balance of giving yourself personal time, but then also not isolating yourself in order to continue growing as a person and feel fulfilled. Number 14 is to prioritize sleep. In high school, I remember one of my teachers, she was a doctor, or not a medical doctor, but she had a PhD. She said, the smartest people I know prioritize sleep. And that was it. That's all I needed to hear. I've remembered that since then. Prioritize sleep. It's important. Don't stay up all night doing your school assignments. Not worth it. Get stuff done earlier or face the consequences, because being tired sucks. For me, I hate it. So that's been a great lesson for me. Number 15 is to live in the present. I've had issues with like worrying about the past a lot, like focusing a lot on the past and wondering like how I could have done things differently, how it would have changed my life. What am I gonna do in the future? All these fears about backwards and forwards in life rather than trying to make the most of where I am now. So it's important because your present will eventually become your past. So make it good. That kind of ties into 16. Don't try to predict the future. Worrying about it's not going to help. Trying to make expectations for what's going to happen is not going to help. Never in my life have I been like maybe 6 months out been able to accurately predict where I would be. Every time I look back, I'm like, oh my God, 6 months ago, I never would have thought that I would be here. So you kind of have to just let that go. Again, living in the present, don't make big expectations for the future. Definitely still set like short-term and long-term goals, but you can't expect everything to go to plan all the time because it's not going to. That said, it's really important to stay true to your own goals and dreams. This is 17. Don't let anyone else derail you. If you have goals that you really care about, you can't let other people get in the way. Don't let people discourage you. If you want to do something and you give it your best shot and you end up not liking it or it doesn't work out, that's okay, because then you learned that. But if that's something that you care about and that's something you've made a goal for yourself, you should continue to chase it. Number 18 is to listen to others' advice. Essentially, if you go to a lot of people for advice and they all tell you the same thing, that might be a piece of valuable advice to take. Normally, that's not always the case, so it can be hard to know what to do when you go to people for advice, but if everyone's telling you the same thing, you should give it a shot. Number 19 is, as you grow older, you're going to change more than you think. I remember being in high school my senior year, maybe even my junior year, I was like, yeah, I actually think I've settled into my adult personality. Like, I don't think I'm gonna change at all. And now looking back, I was so wrong, so wrong. I remember when I turned 20, for some reason, I felt a big like shift, not necessarily in my personality, but like kind of, yeah. So 20 was a big shift for me. And even as I've gotten older every year, I still look back and like, a little bit less so now, but I still think like across your whole life, you're gonna change. And so you just have to be prepared for that. And you have to be willing to adapt, I think, as you grow or change as a person. Number 20 is that your parents are not always right. This was one thing, again, going back to childhood, that I thought. I think a lot of us feel this way. We all look up to our parents and assume that they are all knowing, and you trust them and you respect them and you look to them for guidance. And then when you get older, you realize your parents are people just like you. And I think my mom was 23, my age now, when she gave birth to me. And so now that I'm turning 24, it's weird to think that I'm past the age she was when she gave birth to me. And I'm thinking about where I am in life, and maybe she was totally different than me. This has made me realize that everyone's just a person. no matter who they are, who they pretend to be, everyone is just a person like you. This ties into 21, that no one knows what they're doing in life. And I'm saying that broadly, but it's kind of just like a fake it till you make it thing. You just have to keep going. Time's gonna keep passing, you learn as you go. But when you get older and become an adult, like, you realize there's always more things that you don't know. And I still feel like a kid, even though I'm supposed to be 24 tomorrow. I think it's more just kind of like walking the walk and talking the talk rather than actually really being sure that you know everything. You just have to realize that you don't know everything, and you keep going and you figure it out as you go on with life. Number 22 is that you have to say no sometimes. I was so big into overcommitting myself just to please other people all the time and feel like I'm doing the right thing or not going against the grain or not being difficult. And it was really negatively impacting me in a lot of ways. When I learned to say no, my mental health improved dramatically. I just committed, really the main thing I think it was just like too much work, or just having to do things that I don't really want to do in general. So learning to say no sometimes is definitely important to protect yourself, as long as you're able to do it in a balance that you're not dismissing other people all the time. In your life, you're gonna have relationships with other people. If you're gonna be selfish and only worry about yourself and say no to anything you don't wanna do at all, you can. But if you wanna have positive relationships with other people, there's a give and take there. So you have to find that balance. Number 23 is spend time with people you love. I feel like I've experienced a lot of loss in the past year, which I hadn't really experienced before. People always say that you'll regret not spending more time with people once they're gone, and found out that's very true. And it's really sad because at that point it's too late. So that's my advice. That advice is very important. So heed it. The last one, grand old number 24, is that it is never too late. There's always going to be someone, or almost always in your life, there will be people who are older than you telling you that you are young. There's that quote, the best time to start was yesterday, the second best time to start is now. You can't change what you didn't start in the past, but you can start now. This ties back into number 1, waiting until we're ready for things. If you've realized, wow, I've been waiting till I'm ready and I haven't been ready yet, that's what you gotta do. It's never too late. Even once you realize that, you're like, okay, well, I waited this long. That's okay. Now's the day I start. You just have to be open to the idea that no matter what age you are, you can still become successful or do something meaningful or reach goals that you have, even though you didn't start them earlier when maybe you wanted to. That's kind of how I feel with starting a YouTube channel. I wish I had started it, honestly, when I was younger, like in high school or something. And then I got older and then I was like, this is kind of cringy. And then also just kind of falling off with actually recording videos and stuff like that. All of that's just been, a part of getting started and me just trying to maintain my life and then also my interests. I've always felt like, oh my God, am I too old to be like starting a YouTube channel? And then it's like, I look at all these like people who I watch on YouTube who are like in their late 20s, and they have always started like in their early 20s, like similar to my age. So I'm like, okay, I didn't need to have started this in high school. It's okay. Like it's okay even at this age to like be excited and like want to start a YouTube channel. It can feel like you're too old for stuff or it's too late for stuff, but it never is. You always have more time, and if you want to do something, you should spend the time doing that. The only reason why I feel like time is like running out for me is, in the words of Julia Wolf, I thought by now I'd have more to flex. I thought I'd have graduated college, thought I'd have a full-time job, but that's not where I am, and that's okay. You have your own path in life, you have your own timeline, and all you can do is kind of ride it out and do the best you can. So I'm gonna enjoy my final few hours of being 23, and I hope that these 24 things maybe will help you. Thank you. Here's my puppy, since you saw the cat. Bye.